Good evening, everybody. Back again Wednesday night after a great episode 96 with Mark Muldrow last night. Really look forward to this chat with episode 97 of So What's Been Happening. It's Wednesday, the 30th of August. Can't believe August is kind of already done. The year's kind of really rolling on now. So we're heading pretty close to episode 100 now, episode 97 tonight. With Chris Carrapetta. So this is an exciting one. Another Americana country style singer, and it's been fantastic that Chris Hamilton has been kind enough to unleash his suite of musicians that he helps publicize. So thank you, Chris, for being involved in this process and approaching me to have a chat to these guys. I really enjoyed these chats, as some of our other friends and people that jumped on and commented afterwards, even after last night's show. And the great part was Mark said there was a little spike in his album sales overnight, which was fantastic to hear. So hopefully we can do the same for Chris. And if not, straight away into the future. It's great to bring new people on and new names. And this is how this kind of whole podcast got going and started, was to reach out and see who's around and promote music, most importantly, but talk to artists and fellow friends, and all pick up on a couple of things that you may not know about Chris as well. So we look forward to bringing him up now. Mr. Chris Carrapetta. Welcome, Chris, to episode 97 of So What's Been Happening. Great to have you on, Chris. Hope you can hear me. We got you, Chris? Okay, we've got a bit of a technical difficulty there. We might just get Chris to come back in if we can. Won't be a second, guys. We'll hopefully get Chris to come back on board in a second. It's nothing like a little technical glitch to kick off the night. So just a little bit about Chris. Has just released his album, Nothing Left to Lose. It's an interesting album, actually. For fans of likes of music like Neil Young, Jason Isbell, Ryan Adams, and Wilco. It's very much in that same kind of feel as all those. So I'll be interested to hear. Chris has kind of been a little bit unwell, so we're going to try and get him to do one song and see kind of how he feels after that. But we're definitely going to talk about how he's been in the past little time as we go. We've been through, obviously, the bad days in the COVID era, but now we're out the other side and hopefully back playing gigs and recording music again and re-releasing new music, which is fantastic to hear. So a little bit about this as hopefully Chris comes up again shortly. We're just going to try and bring Chris back in if we can now. Hopefully welcome back, Chris. Have I got you this time, Chris?
I'm here now.
Okay, beautiful. No problem. Sorry about that. A little... For some weird internet glitch, it happens occasionally when bring you up and no audio. So thanks for jumping back on so quickly.
All good, all good.
So firstly, well, let's kick off again with episode 97 of So What's Been Happening. Chris Carrapetta, fantastic to spend a little bit of time with you tonight on a Wednesday night. Where traditionally would you be on a Wednesday night if you weren't here talking to me in the studio?
Often there's gigs on in Sydney on Wednesday nights that I would attend, so that's a common thing I would do. But it's a bit wet and miserable tonight, so I probably would have stayed home regardless. But yeah,
right. Well, it's I'm in sunny Melbourne right now. But
to do quite often.
It's not much different down here in Melbourne right now. So obviously we're getting a bit of a change of season now, so we start to move out into the better part of the year in relation to performances and festivals and all those kind of things, which is great. So looking forward to getting your music out there, Chris. It's been a month or two or so, I think it's been, since you released this album. Is that correct? Nothing Left to Lose?
Yeah, just over a month. Yeah. So towards the end of July.
And how's the initial reaction
shows recently? Yeah, it's been really great. I've had a lot of people.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I've had a lot of positive support from those that have heard it, and anyone that's had a listen has told me they've been getting into it and enjoying it. So it's always a lovely thing to hear. So
yeah, good. How long's this album been in the making for you? Obviously on the back of the couple of COVID years, was it part of those days?
It feels. Yeah, no, it predates all of that. It's been this work in progress that I've been tinkering with, and at one point I wasn't even sure I'd even make this record, but I just persevered ultimately and made it happen. And I'm had a lot of very influential, supportive friends who are heavily involved in helping make that happen as well. So I think without them kind of nudging me along, it may not have happened, but I'm glad it did. So yeah,
absolutely
grateful to them for that.
Yeah. It does definitely help to have that little gentle push sometimes when there's things going on in your life that you may have been challenges, and you thought, oh, I'm just not going to go there anymore, or it's not the right time. So
yeah, there was definitely a bit of that. There's been a lot of life change happened between when that started and when now, but sure. it felt like a project I was very much wanting to see the light of day. I just in whatever form it ultimately ended up, but I'm pretty happy with the end result and where it ended up and how we did it in the end. So yeah,
beautiful. All right, well, we'll talk about that a little bit more shortly, but let's flash back a little bit in your life, and get back to your early days and your first kind of distant memories, or earliest memories, I should say, of music for you. What was playing at home, and who was around, and who influenced you the most as a young kid?
I had a kind of musical father who was very influential in my getting into music in the first place. He was a big Neil Young fan, so
yeah, that
was definitely on the radio in the car or cassettes in the car, particularly, I think. So yeah, that's a very big influential starting point for me, I think, and has continued to still be to this day. I still love listening to Neil, and I know a lot of people who do. So yeah,
sure. Have you got an absolute famous or favorite Neil Young track or album, more importantly?
It fluctuates. I think that
yeah,
mid to late 70s, that early to mid 70s period is pretty solid. But I think as a kid, Rust Never Sleeps was the one that probably was my favorite. Just that. And I think I have a memory of, I was pretty young. I remember it was broadcast on TV one night, and I stayed up watching it, and my parents had fallen asleep on the couch. They went to sleep. I was still up watching it. But they actually took me to see Neil Young when I was like 5 years old. So I barely have any memory of it whatsoever, but I know I was there. I have vague recollections of being in the room, but that's about as much as I can actually remember of it. Yeah.
So
it goes back.
Yeah, it's one of those conversations that everyone says, what was your first concert? I suppose you may not have remembered that one well, but it's not a bad first concert, is it?
Yeah, I can't complain with that. So yeah.
Absolutely.
The next one was a few years later, but
yeah, okay. So just on that, what was the first kind of concert you do remember, and at what age were you?
Well, I think the one that followed that was Jimmy Barnes' Barnstorming tour around the late 80s, early like 88, 89, somewhere in that. So I remember going to that. I was probably 10 or 11 at best. I think it was Charlie Sexton, the Choir Boys, and Jimmy Barnes with Diesel in his band, I think, as well. So I have definitely more memories of that particular concert. Yeah.
And was that dragged along with friends and family, or how did that kind of work? Do you remember? It's quite early
I have a feeling my auntie. Yeah, it was just one of those things. My auntie actually took me. Some family friends had 2 tickets, and then they suddenly couldn't go, and then somehow I ended up going. So
yeah. Well, not a bad second show if you're looking for a lineup of shows. So super.
Yeah.
Your first instrument, was it guitar, and what else has been in your kind of music repertoire other than guitar?
Sorry, say that again.
Was guitar the first musical instrument for you?
Yeah, definitely. I started playing around that age too, around 10 or 11. That was when I first started my first attempts at playing, and I sort of gave up after a little while, and then came back to it and pretty much played guitar all the way through high school, and met a few like-minded mates at school, and we kind of had a bit of a school band and did that for a while, in the later years of high school and shortly after. So yeah,
obviously,
guitar definitely was my starting point.
Obviously, covers generally as a kid played in that band, or
it was very much the grunge kind of period, so we were very much influenced by that time, mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
Say again.
Bit of Nirvana thrown in.
Yeah, Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Guns N' Roses and all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
cool. Absolutely.
But it wasn't long after that.
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, I was going to say it wasn't long after that I started actually writing though as well. It was pretty much towards about 17, 18 by the time I started really getting stuck into writing my first songs, I guess. So
yeah, okay. And just on that, what was the songwriting kind of process for you as a young kid? Was it just writing some lyrics down and that's, or is it did it come from the guitar? What was the process that you remember?
Yeah, it was a bit of both at the start. I think it was very much driven by the guitar, and I would just, I was obsessed with playing quite a lot back then, and up late just noodling and coming up with ideas, and somehow I managed to put words to those ideas, and that's kind of how I've mostly done it from then on. But it's usually driven by playing the guitar and coming up with different chord progressions and riffs, and that's been mostly how I've done it. It changes every now and then, but that's been most of my process.
Okay. And your first guitar, what was it?
Funnily enough, it's in this room. I had a late 80s metal shred beast guitar that my father accidentally snapped the neck on by treading on it one day, and I quickly upgraded to a Gibson Les Paul after that. But I happily see the end of that first guitar. It's definitely not wouldn't be the sort of thing I'd play these days. But
is it
the Les Paul was definitely my thing.
You've obviously got a great collection of guitars behind you there. Does it get a place on the wall, or does it sit in the corner, the first guitar?
I actually, it's been sitting in an attic collecting dust for decades, and a friend of mine took some interest in maybe wanting it. I was going to give it to him, but the neck's so far broken, I don't think it's worth even trying to fix it. But so it's literally only came here a couple of weeks ago. I haven't looked at it in 20 years. So it's funny that you brought that up. But
well, it's interesting that it sits in the room tonight with us after all that conversation. But it's I speak to a lot of musicians, and they talk about guitars and stuff obviously being pivotal obviously in their life, but also almost like children to them, and so many good memories and bad memories, and all sorts of things that go along with the world of guitars. So what's your favorite guitar you play these days?
I have a couple of really nice Gretches that seem to be my favorites at the moment, but it depends. If I'm playing electric guitar, it's the Gretches, and I have a couple of nice Martin acoustics, one of which was my father's. He passed away a couple of years ago, but I have a couple of his guitars that were very dear to him, and I now have them in my possession to look after. So
absolutely,
they're very very important to me as well. So
incredible asset to pass on.
Doing my best to take care of them and play them and make sure they still keep making music. So
it's beautiful to be able to continue that tradition.
Yeah. So absolutely. I'm very lucky to have some very nice toys to play with. But
All right, so let's talk this album in particular. Let's just touch on that firstly. Nothing Left to Lose.
Yep.
The first song that you considered was kind of 100% finished and in the can. Do you remember? It was a lock and load.
The first, you're talking about in terms of writing or in terms of the recording process?
Just the writing. Well, pretty much the whole process. What was the one that came together? That was not necessarily the quickest, but it was the first one finished, and you said, "Right, that one's done."
I think the first song in this collection was the title track, "Nothing Left to Lose." That was the one that was the catalyst for the whole project. I definitely remember writing that first, and all the others seem to follow shortly after, with the exception of one or two. But that from the get-go was a song I felt I was pretty happy with, and felt that was going to lead to something bigger. So definitely.
So do you kind of get a feeling that it sets the tone for the rest of the record when you do a song like that, or is it more what you think is kind of the right song on the journey you're on at the time?
I mean, it kind of feels like it. I mean, I wouldn't have known this at the time, but it certainly feels like that was the case with this particular song. Like, it really did sort of set up the whole situation, and I think that's probably why I ended up calling the record that title as well, because I think that was the trigger point for everything. And so that was definitely a song that I thought was gonna be a part of a bigger project.
Okay.
It wasn't the first song. In fact, I haven't released it as a single as such, but it was definitely the sort of the core of the whole project and the essence of everything that kind of followed, I think. So, yeah.
Great. All right. Well, I know you haven't been well this week, but we're trying to coax one song out of you to see if you can see how you feel, and feel free if you don't feel up to it as you go. But yeah, we'd love to hear some live as a special gift to our fans that have a listen. So what have you got for us tonight, Chris?
I might do a song called "One Day at a Time." I haven't released that as a single, and I haven't played that anywhere on live on the interwebs yet. So I think it's time for it to have a go. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Look forward to it.
My hot toddy's gone cold. Seems I might have made a big mistake. Built my hopes and had them washed away. And I'm not thinking that things are gonna change. Do you? And I'm not wanting everything my way. Sometimes it's just best to walk away. But I'm not thinking that things are gonna change. Do you? One day at a time. Someday I'll find peace of mind. But I'm never gonna run back to you. No, I'm never gonna run back to you. make it go away. I'm not thinking that things were gonna change to you. Just one day at a time. Someday I'll find peace of mind, but I'm never gonna run back to you. No, I'm never gonna run back to you. Seems I might have made a big mistake.
Yeah, beautiful, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice final line there.
Yeah.
An interesting one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that felt all right. Yeah, it was good.
Good to hear. Thanks for doing that for us, especially
Yeah, no
tonight.
problem.
It's debut on the big wide web, so good to get it out there. Hopefully, one day you can get it recorded. Is it recorded at all?
No, it's on the record, but I just say I haven't done it
Yep.
as a single or haven't performed it.
Okay, beautiful.
So
All right. Let's talk album covers for 2 seconds. And this, obviously, one in particular, this photo and shot.
Yep.
Who took it and where was that located?
that is first answer is Peter Caswell, who is a big part of my band and someone I play music with quite regularly now. She took the photos early last year when I first started getting everything sort of in place to do the record. So I needed some new photos for promo stuff and for gigs, and so we did a little photo shoot at a family friend's property not far from where my parents' place is, in the southwest of Sydney near Campbelltown. And they have a beautiful old sleeper train carriage in their yard, in their property, that's used as an Airbnb these days, but it's set up pretty much like it would have been back in the day. And so we used that as a backdrop for quite a lot of the shots that I've been using for the record and for promo stuff for a while. So yeah,
Cool. Yeah, the lighting's
so
really
that's
cool.
the backstory to that.
Lighting's really cool. It's a nice shot.
Yeah, so she took the photo through the glass. There was like a couple of layers of so it kind of, and the lighting at that particular part of the day was just perfect for what we did. So yeah,
golden hour.
Worked out really well
these days.
It pretty much was. Yeah.
Nice.
We timed it perfectly.
Yeah. Give us something, a little fun fact that anyone playing with you or people that come to any of your gigs don't know about you, Chris. What can you give us?
Fun fact they don't know about me. That's a good one. They don't know about me. I don't know. Most people know a fair bit about me, I would think, but
After all these years.
After all these years. I love Lego still, even as an adult.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, absolutely. You never grow out
Something
of
weird.
Lego. Yeah. That's a quirky fun fact for sure. Absolutely.
Fun fact, yeah.
And who's your favorite artist at the moment? Who you listening to? I know it probably changes weekly or daily, but who is it right now for you?
At the moment, I've been on a bit of a Jason Molina Bender thing for a good few years. I keep finding more and more that I like about that guy. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, but I kind of missed him when he was around and when he was making music. I kind of was a late comer to Songs of Hire and Magnolia Electric Company, but yeah, that's someone I've been kind of steadily listening to for quite a while. But,
Okay.
There
you go. And a record collector yourself?
I've become a bit of a vinyl collector. Yes, I mean, I had a ridiculous amount of CDs. I still have a ridiculous amount of CDs from all those years ago. But yeah, I have a lot of records as well. I try and buy, other singer-songwriters. If I go to gigs and they're selling records, I definitely, I'm definitely one that will usually be there at the merch stand making purchases at gigs. So
yep.
I encourage others to do the same. It's what makes this stuff happen. If independent artists don't get supported by people, it's very hard for us to keep making the music that we love doing. It's a privilege to be able to do that, but it certainly helps when people were supportive as well. And I try to be supportive as well as an artist myself. But yeah. But I definitely love having the big physical. Yeah, coming home from a gig and having a record. If I don't already have it and I do get it, then that's always fun. And sometimes they'll sign it as well while you're there, which is always good. So yeah,
it is, absolutely it is. Makes it very special for sure. And just to have that couple of minute maybe engagement with the artist as well, definitely makes a difference. And to be able to display your art, whether it be a photo or a drawn piece or whatever the case may be, at a decent size back again, instead of the days of digital now, which it is, and you're lucky to get a 2.5 centimeter little thing on iTunes or something like that. So
exactly. Yeah.
Thanks for putting it out in vinyl. I know it's not cheap to do these days, to put a vinyl run together.
Look, it's not, but it was kind of one of those things where if I'm doing this, it feels, it's like I may never get a chance to do this again. Who knows? You never know what happens. But I was like, well, I thought this record was worthy of it, and it was worth putting in the time and effort to make it as good as I could. And I haven't really had physical product for a very long time, and so I felt, well, I love records. I get the feeling that there's still a lot of people out there that are keen to have records, and so it felt like the right thing to do. So I didn't go crazy and order bucket loads of them, but I've got a reasonable amount to sell, and
the old limited edition, hey, limited to how many you can sell.
Exactly. So. Yeah. I'm grateful for those that have already purchased some. So if you want to get a copy, I'll happily send you one.
Hopefully, look it up. Chris Carrapetta .com is where you're heading, and we'll make sure that gets organised for you as quick as possible. From Chris, what other any other merch in the range that you do? Have you done teas and things like that before, or you concentrate mainly on the hard goods these days?
Yep.
And the next single, what's coming up off this album?
Sorry, it dropped out for a second.
Yeah, the next single that's going to be released off this album.
So I kind of did 3 singles prior to the album, and I'm not sure if I'll actually do another one. I may still do so, but I'm still deciding on that. But yeah. So now the record's out, I think that's the main push. So yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
I've got some new songs I'm keen to start recording at some point. So I'll probably move on to the next project soon enough. But
yeah, it's not that easy just to keep pumping songs out. Although during this process, if it's been a lengthy one, there's a lot of artists keen to kind of get this on and get recording again on some new stuff now that we're allowed back in studios again.
Yeah, well, that's it. So I mean, I did a lot of jamming and demoing and stuff during the lockdown periods, and I wrote a few songs, and I've got a few things that I've been tinkering with. But if I'm going to do another record at any time, I've still got a few songs that will need finishing, but I've got probably enough to do almost a whole record that's sitting there. But I don't know if they all work together as a complete thing.
Sure.
So some things might be suitable, but even just the process of recording for me is just a lot of fun, and I really enjoy doing that. So just getting to do that will be pretty cool. So yeah.
And how many musicians on this particular album? How did it come together? Is this a long-term set in the band that's been current, or is
no? In fact, I didn't really have a band up until recently. The band has really kind of been formed around the record. I used to mostly play a lot of solo gigs. I had a brief period where I had a couple of mates up in the mountains who played bass and drums, and we did some gigs back then, but that was quite a while ago now. But yeah, the band I have currently has pretty much formed around the records. It was produced and recorded by my mate Dean Bennison, and he played on quite a bit of it, or quite a lot of it actually. He and myself did most of the actual playing on the record. And then he's in the band. His wife Becky, who's a longtime friend of mine as well, and we've played in bands together too. And she did all the backing vocals and some other parts as well. And so she's in the band. My good mate Simon Telfer, I've played in bands with him, and he's playing bass in the band. But once that was all done by me or Dean on the record. We managed to get Gareth Richards on board, and he's the drummer from Copperline and the Gin Palace, and so he's an amazing drummer. And I'd always kind of wanted him to play on the record, but it wasn't possible because of COVID. So in the end, Dean and I did most of that ourselves in the end. But so he's been involved as well. And then Peter Caswell, who came on board, she did a couple of backing vocals on the tracks late on the record, but then she's kind of become a fairly big part of the band as well, and she's playing guitar and singing, and we've also brought the fiddle into the band, and it's kind of having a fairly big role as well. So so it's expanded from even the record. We've taken it to another level. So the album launch shows had the 6-piece band, and it sounded amazing. It was a lot of fun to do that with them. So that was a highlight.
Sounds pretty special for sure. Where'd you pick for the album launch?
So we played on the Friday night a couple of weeks ago at the Factory Floor as part of the Factory Theatre in Marrickville in Sydney, and then we did another Sunday afternoon show up at the Lincoln Pin in Woy Woy, so on the Central Coast. So it was a beautiful sunny Sunday afternoon, and lots of people came out, and it was good fun.
Yeah, brilliant. And upcoming gigs, Chris, let's touch on that. What have you got coming up in the pipeline?
Yeah, I've just got a couple of smaller ones, just myself and Peter. Going to do a couple of duo gigs and a couple of weekends. We're doing the Bootlegger Bar up in Katoomba. Because I used to live in the mountains for quite a while, and it's been a while since I've played up there, so I'm going to do a little bit of a show up there. And then on the Sunday, there's a new brewery out in Orange, Badlands Brewery, and going to do a similar thing on the Sunday afternoon out there. So looking forward to that. Yeah. And then I'm going to start planning some more shows for the band for later in the year, I think. And,
beautiful.
And run up to the end of the year.
Any chances of any other states? For later in the year?
I'm keeping it open for possible something in Melbourne at some point. I'm in another band, and we're possibly going to do some shows down there. And if that happens, I might try and snag something for myself while I'm down there. So
absolutely, pull a little sideshow. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, see what happens with that whole situation. I definitely want to come down to Melbourne at some point. If it's not this year, definitely early in the new year. But I've been wanting to come down to Melbourne and play for a long time. So
beautiful.
That's definitely on my radar. Yeah.
Make sure you reach out when you get down here. We'd love to help promote it and get a few people along to one of those gigs for sure. So we look forward to that.
Sure.
How you feeling, Chris? Is there any chance of I can hit you up for one more song? What's the chances? How you feeling?
I think it might be a struggle. I can try, but
That's okay. No problem. No, that's all
yeah,
right. Let's save that for round two when we talk
yeah,
about it in the future. That's all
yeah,
right.
cool.
I just wanted to see how you're feeling. So
Yeah. I'm kind of even talking now is kind of getting harder. So no, all good. I would
sure.
love to have played another song, but yeah, it's just
That's okay.
yeah.
You've
Unfortunately,
you've
the
been
timing of
generous.
getting a cold this week wasn't ideal, but yeah,
No,
at
it
least it wasn't.
wasn't.
Mm.
How does it feel and being back out and about these days playing gigs again on the back of a record, obviously. We had that lockdown for such a long period of time. Not so much for you guys in New South Wales, obviously, but how does it feel to be back
Yeah,
on track, giving that warmth to the crowd again?
it's been a strange thing. I feel like there's something changed definitely since, and I'm not sure it's a good thing. I don't know. It just there was definitely a lot of stuff happening prior to all that, and I feel like a lot of that has sort of gone away. There's I don't know, the scene in Sydney's just a little bit tentative. I'm not. Yeah, there's people still going out a lot, but something's not quite the same. I haven't quite figured it out yet. What is different? But there's definitely a different vibe around. And we lost a few venues too in that little
That's a
period too.
disappointing part. Eh?
Yeah, there's been a couple of new ones come on board too, so that's always good. But it does feel like a little something is missing. There was a bit more. I don't know. It felt like there was a bit more camaraderie and a bit more support amongst the wider, musicians network. And I don't know. It feels a little lacking these days. But
Sure.
maybe I'm just reading it different. But yeah.
Yeah, possibly. That's okay. And just a couple more questions, if I can. A local artist up there in Sydney, either upcoming or just a local artist in general that we should be looking out for and doing some homework and research on. Who have you got for us?
Am I allowed to pick a band or someone I'm in a band with?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. I also play bass in a band. It's the Bronwyn Ether Band, and I think they're well worth checking out. I've only been a member for just over a year, so it's still a new thing for me. But I came to the band as a fan of the band as well, so that was a big part as to why I got involved. I've got enough things to do, but they're good enough that it's worth my time and energy to be involved, and a great bunch of people to play music with. So
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
And what's that like? What's the shake up like after getting into a new band and fitting into a current band? How does that kind of chemistry work for you?
Well, I mean, it was a case of they had their thing, and it was a matter of whether what I could bring to it was going to add something, or I think it instantly it worked. There was enough chemistry, and I was enjoying what they were working on, and we've spent most of this year working on new material, which we're about to start recording as well. So, and I've been very, very much involved in that process. So, it's definitely a lot of fun to be involved in that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Always.
And it's good to not be the front man too. That's the other. Let someone else have a turn at that for a while. I can step back and just, I've got my role to play, but I'm not the main focus for a change.
Sure.
So I'm quite okay with that.
Yeah. And just a couple of last ones. Your dream venue to play at anywhere, can be anywhere in the world. And who would be your support?
Anywhere in the world.
And who would be your support? You can pick anyone as your support.
Anywhere in the world and anyone as my support. Wow.
Big question.
It's a big one. Red Rocks, surely, right?
Yeah. Very cool venue. Yeah.
I've still never been there myself. I just dream of actually going to see someone play there, let alone play there myself. But the same about Red Rocks. It would be pretty cool. I reckon if someone like Wilco or War on Drugs or My Morning Jacket, one of those bands, they're all bands I really love, and so
Absolutely.
Any of them? Yeah.
Yep. Pretty cool. Absolutely. And the last question for you tonight, but it's kind of got obviously a couple of parts to it, is the classic question of, you're hosting a dinner party. It's you and 5 other guests at the table. They can be living or dead. Who 5 people be for you right now in your life? Not necessarily in your life, but who would you want at the table now?
Well, we started the night with this, so let's go with Neil Young, because why not?
Great start.
Probably George Orwell, maybe. I reckon he'd be someone interesting. Let me think. I feel like this should roll off the tongue, but
no, it doesn't always. Absolutely.
I reckon Paul Kelly would be a bit of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
An Australian element in there.
Yeah.
Bob Hawke, just for fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how many am I up to?
Yeah, one more.
Oh, one more. Still want to go. Oh, they're all guys. Hang on. I better pick some feminine energy to the process. My favorite actress would be Sigourney Weaver, so let's throw her in the mix.
What a great lineup. Yeah, thanks for that, Chris. That's awesome. Look, we understand you haven't been that well, and the throat's a little bit rusty, so we're going to kind of finish it there, if you don't mind, Chris. And we'd love to bring you on again at some stage and have another chat, just in a small dose or whatever you like, in relation to bringing on new music, or if there's any time you ever want to reach out and have a chat. We're always here to talk music and life in general. So Chris Carrapetta, really appreciate you spending it's been 45 minutes, mate, so that time ticks along pretty quickly, but really appreciate your time on episode 97 of So What's Been Happening. We look forward to getting out to one of your gigs soon. We'll post some details about your upcoming gigs and the website and where the people can find you, and most importantly, all the best. Awesome. And look forward to getting to see you out there sometime soon.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Appreciate your time.
No worries. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night, Chris.
Thanks, Aaron. You're welcome. Cheers. Thank you.
Well, it was great little chat with Chris Carrapetta. We look forward to the next few chats. That was episode 97 of So What's Been Happening, and I'd like to just put up a little thing that really displaying that we've had some fantastic people as part of this, and look forward to many more names to come in the future. Thank you to every one of these people that have spent time with us over the last 97 episodes, which has been pretty much in the making of 2 or 3 years now. So that's been episode 97. Also, What's Been Happening. Feel free, next week we're going to do a couple of shows as well. So we'll get to show 99 pretty quickly, and then we'll plan something pretty special for show 100 shortly. So thanks for joining us. Have a good week. And get out there and support a band, most importantly, and support a live venue with live music. I guarantee you. And as Chris said, make sure you buy an album, most importantly, and some merch, because it does make a difference to a band to be able to do that. So enjoy the week, and we'll see you out there soon.